I said, it's a university staff member who's experienced in elections to make an independent decision on your behalf, if necessary, if something comes up untoward in elections.
Okay, so again, green cards. Those for. Those against. Any abstentions? Okay. Moving on to the report. Again, this is all still just green cards, so we just need to approve these. So those for approve committee reports, steering committee. Those against. Any abstentions? Okay. Disciplinary committee and scrutiny committee reports. Those for. Those against. Any abstention? Okay, State of the Union report. Raf, you'd like to come up?
To shuffle the lecture.
Yeah. Sorry. Last one, Raf.
I know.
Going to be a good one.
I'll try. Can't promise anything. Cool. So, and everyone, thank you again, obviously, for coming. I know it's obviously peak dissertation exam, so much appreciated on your attendance. For the last State of the Union, obviously, just a few updates from me, and then a little traditional message at the end. But so the other week, Students' Union won SU of the Year at the Educate North Awards for the second year running. This is a massive privilege. We wouldn't have won it without the great efforts of students, particularly our volunteering projects actually, but also all the changes that I think we've recently introduced from a lot of feedback we've gauged in this room and the wider student body. And a lot of that does start in this room. So we also beat Northumbria, who was sat next to us on the table, which made it a lot more pleasant for me. So that was a big relief. But yeah, well done to sort of everyone's contribution to that. Of course. Is that all right? Cheers, Harris. This past week, if you didn't know, it's also been the Celebrating Success Awards, which has been fantastic to see all the amazing work that is done by students and get recognised. So I hope some of you have been attended, hope we got nominated, or even set nominations in, and any winners or runners up here, all nominees, well done to you all. One announcement that I'm particularly excited to make after a lot of research is that NUSU has divested fully from fossil fuels, delivering our commitment on time, which we made in 2016. So while the university has taken a bit of time, we as an organisation, the Students' Union, have completely divested from fossil fuels. We're still pressuring the university to deliver on their promise, but this is going to take time. It's an arduous process. Any ideas, expertise? I know there's a motion about an environmental officer, because maybe sort of a lack of feedback or engagement with students, but I'm lucky enough to sit on a high-level university meeting which decides investments, and ethical investments in particular. So it's not the easiest job arguing with lots of old men who've been investment managers and lawyers for 30 years. So any sort of ideas and help, then obviously please speak to me before I finish, but Katie will be taking over. Enjoy that. Grind never stops, innit? Anyway, if you weren't aware, we did finally successfully lobby the uni to introduce free menstrual products across campus, because I don't think we have the council since. Thank you for all the collaboration on this. We had the unanimous council motion. Charlotte in particular, Anastasia, who I don't think is here at the minute, were really, really helpful and instrumental in getting that through. We're currently advising on the 8 locations across campus. They should hopefully be in place for the next academic year. So sorry for everyone leaving. I did try. Just want to say Maggie organised a fantastic AU ball, which was a very civilised celebration of sport. We are 9th in the country. We finished the year 9th?
Right.
Yeah, go on then. So we're 9th in the country, and also we retained the Victor Ladorum for the second year running, which means we're the best university at Bucks Regatta, which was very, very impressive. Sophie and I are in the midst of planning NUSU's Summer Jam, the first ever Summer Jam. Maybe it may never continue, who knows. But on the 7th of June, the final day of exams, we'll be taking over the middle of campus from the green of Northern Stage to the Forum with the Weird Heads to create an outdoor festival. We'll have student bands performing, including NUJO, they got on their award last night. A silent disco from Red Bull, food trucks and pop-up bars, including Stew Brew, for you to enjoy a celebratory summer evening with all your mates after the stress of exams. So please come down and have yourself some fun. And speaking of summer, Johnny has successfully negotiated with the Robinson Library to extend the opening hours for 5 weeks in the summer holidays. Key campaign promise of his, and something that will be really useful for postgrad students, so well done to him. So I want to say something about, as an SU, there are always countless hoops to jump through just to force through change. This is why it sometimes takes so long as a SAB to convince the university to do anything, and why, understandably, you guys can be quite frustrated at us, maybe not doing too much, because I can't stress this enough. You remember the way of the warrior from Raven? It's literally like that sometimes. Seriously. So that is often why things can take a while. But that's why collaboration and feedback is so important. You know, despite being elected on the promise of introducing free sanitary items, it took a unanimously supported council motion. It took 3 different surveys, maybe about 2, and local media coverage as well, just to show the university that maybe students wanted it. So they're a tough nut to crack. Good luck to next year's officers team. To you guys, make sure you get behind them and support them, because this job isn't half nerve-wracking, stressful and difficult at times. But I have every belief that they will do an outstanding job. Each of them have brilliant ideas, and I hope as the year goes on, they don't lose sight of why they went for these roles in the first place. They're coming in at a time where higher education is as uncertain as ever. The university is still content making extra money off students. As the Courier revealed this week about the 30,000 smart card income, students are still being also told they're not welcome in Jesmond after a councillor won the local election wanting a more age-balanced population. So there's still work always to be done, and that's why you guys are important. Us students are up against it, and the fact you come here during peak dissertation and exam revision time, and many of you have come all year, shows that you really care about improving this union and campus. As SABs, we've been challenged, and at times it's been tough, but I'd like to think that we've shown this year that we've all got the ability to influence the university and improve the student experience. So keep talking, engaging, and collaborating with us so that the university are constantly on their toes and evolving for the better. We've shown this year that it's possible, so don't let up in the next. That's the State of the Union. Safe.
Okay, so show of green cards to whether you're happy and approve what Raf has just said. Those for, those against, any abstentions? Brilliant. Okay, officers' reports and executive committee minutes. Again, green cards. So those for, those against, any abstentions? Brilliant. Right, part-time officers' end-of-year reports. John, if you wouldn't mind chairing this piece. Oh yes, my mistake, sorry. Yes, so yeah, it's not questions, it's just reports, which means it's just show of green cards. Okay, those for, those against, any abstentions? Brilliant. Okay, same but for the sabbatical office end of year reports. Those for, those against, any abstentions? Okay, now on to the questions and mandates. So sabbatical officers, if you wouldn't mind coming up. They will introduce themselves, they will give a little update on what they've been doing, and this is your chance to ask them any questions on anything they've done. It will be your last chance, so make the most of it. So if you just want to introduce yourself.
Sophie McDermott, Activities Officer.
Louise Hall, Editor of the Courier.
Jack Green, Welfare and Equality Officer.
Raf Marioni, President.
Maggie Elstop, Athletic Union Officer.
Johnny Hall, Education Officer.
Any questions? Okay, if you guys want to call. Yeah. Okay, so is it green cards for that? Yeah. It's green cards for that, isn't it? No. No, yeah, sorry. So, question and mandates for the part-time officers. Again, same again, but the PTOs instead. John, if you want to take over, because I can't do this myself.
Let's enjoy that part. Okay, so if the part-time officer would like to introduce themselves.
I'm Grace Argyle, I'm a student at Billy.
I'm Jamie Cameron, I'm the Security Officer. Pablo, International Students Officer.
Charlotte, Marginalised Genders Officer.
I'm Adam, Chair of Student Council.
Harris, Disabilities Officer.
Any questions for the part-time officers? Sophie?
I just wanted to say well done, Harris, for being recognised last night for all your hard work and societies this year.
Okay.
Okay. Now, on to the motions. There are no business motions, so we move on to something fairly unorthodox, the formal motion. Harris, are we?
Big Market Banter! So today we are roaming the streets of Newcastle trying to find the most tipsy people we can find, telling them a few facts, a few questions, and we've got a special guest today, haven't we, Vic? Who have we got today?
Really exclusive.
Introduce
We've really pulled out the budget for season 9.
It's a season first.
It's always a Big Market Banter first. Welcome to the stage, Daniel Craig.
Oh my God!
Hello.
Do you mind? We're going to be bringing Daniel around today, introducing him to some of the locals.
Is this just new today?
Yeah, literally just happened now.
Blimey. Blimey. Is this just new today?
Yeah, literally just happened now.
Blimey.
I mean, I was just walking out of the Students' Union, I just came around the corner, and there was this guy, he was like wearing a black or dark blue like jacket, and it had like loads of paint splashes all down it, so it's very distinctive. Probably not the best thing to wear when you're about to do this. Some black shorts and some trainers. It's kind of shortish for a guy, dark, like blondie, gingery, like hair that had been buzzed short, so I remember quite well what it looked like. I just saw him like walking around this, and he painted like a star and painted the last bit of it, and then he literally just legged it down the road like with his little Sainsbury's bag of, I'm assuming, other paint cans. So he literally just ran away, but he shouted something before he left, but I can't remember exactly what it was. I thought it sounded like a name, like something like Evans or whatever.
Yeah, so his name was Jamie Evans. He shouted it as he left. He arrived at the monument and started spray painting it. Two people went over to speak to him. He spoke to them for a little bit, and then he started to run away and shouted Jamie Evans as he left. And then I googled him, and he's a prominent graffiti artist in the area.
So is he not? He's not a student.
He's an ex-student. He's a graduate.
He's a graduate. Do you know what he studied and when he graduated?
He studied fine art.
I want to say it's a more radical approach, but I suppose it's almost a more traditional approach as well. Like, I'm very surprised because obviously when I was there with the fishing rod, I was snuffed out very quickly, but it's quite an elaborate change. I think I'll have to reflect before I can give a more full response as to what I feel, but I guess it's clear to say at least that it's not over.
No, I was not asked. Do you have any critique on the graffiti?
I think the critique is mostly that they've changed the work. That's the main thing, right?
I'll take the finish off the metal though.
It would, yeah. You'd have to clean the whole thing rather than a little bit
like re-rust.
Yeah.
Is it being left? Is graffiti being left up?
We're just waiting for the Anthony Gormley Foundation. Thank you to let us know what they're going to do. He wants to take pictures of it, but he wasn't given authority to do it.
But the staff are cleaning, packing away the equipment. So
we're going to take the stuff away now and wait to see what the foundation's got to say, and then we'll decide what they want to do.
Cool.
But he doesn't have authority to do it.
So the Jamie Evans did not.
He did not.
No. Okay.
It's broad daylight, beautiful sunny day. Can't understand people's motivation for doing something like this. Graffiti doesn't seem to have any particular merit, and it doesn't seem to send any message or anything. If it did, it shouldn't be done on another work of art.
No, it was like an hour ago. In there.
Hello and welcome to Student Voice, the show where we get your thoughts on current issues. Half a year ago, the university installed this sculpture, The Clasp, by Sir Anthony Gormley. The reception at the time was cool, to say the least. Today, we're revisiting the topic to see if people have warmed to the idea of the sculpture being on campus, or if they still consider it to be an eyesore. Let's go find out. Do you know what this is?
No. No. You mean the building far away?
This here.
Oh, there.
Which one? Sorry.
Oh,
this brown thing.
It's supposed to be a monument or something. A statue.
Do you know of what?
No.
So, I don't know what's this.
No. Do you want to tell me what it represents?
Yeah, that's the clasp. Anthony Gormley sculpture.
It's supposed to appear like two people.
I haven't seen it before. I graduated about 5 years ago, so it wasn't there before. Because it just magically appeared one day.
It did.
When I came back from the summer break.
Actually, to be fair, I didn't really notice it. Yeah, so I don't really think it does anything to the campus.
Well, it definitely adds. Whether it's good or bad, I'm not exactly sure. I mean, what was the intended purpose? Do you know? I know it's meant to represent two people embracing, but like, why did whoever put it here?
I basically don't know what it means. Yeah, I don't know what's the meaning of this.
I try to consider what they want to say using this sculpture. So I just saw some square or nothing else.
No, I think it's a bit unappealing. Definitely doesn't like people, and it's not a very nice colour either.
It looks like a bunch of squares, really.
It looks just like a Lego thing.
Yeah. Every time I walk past it, I hear someone saying that they don't like how it's covered in rust.
It's a bit miserable.
I think it's quite a prestigious view of the uni here, and it sort of might block, I don't know, when people come up the steps and might interfere with the image of the uni, but other than that, yeah.
Maybe it's a bit different from the structure of the buildings.
No, I don't think it really blends in well with the kind of general aesthetic of this part of campus. I don't think it's really well placed at all.
I mean, it's very different from the whole aesthetics of the city, I would say, but I don't mind it.
I've seen lots of different structures been built over the last couple of years. I think it adds to it. Definitely doesn't harm it in any way, so why not?
I don't think it's bad or people should not be content with it.
It's an interesting piece of art. I like it.
As a sculpture, fine, but as a campus sculpture, we want something that represents the people of Newcastle or of the university a bit more.
I do sort of wonder, come graduation, my dad's blind, and this place is going to be pretty packed. That thing could be a bit of an obstacle.
He only spent 24 hours at this uni, so it also, again, feels like a bit of a false claim of alumni-ship. And also, we also feel that it's another sculpture by a man, and all our buildings are named after men, and we just want, I don't know, something that's a bit more representative of everyone.
Campus sculpture woes haven't ended here, however. Within the last few weeks, a new installation has appeared on campus in the Armstrong Quadrangle. Now, I have no idea what this is called, who made it, or literally anything about it, but we're going to find out what people think about it, so let's go ask.
It's a sculpture of a headless ballet dancer.
It's interesting. I don't know. It's headless. I don't know. Abstract.
Oh, I really do like it. It's lumpy. I think it's very surprised that it lost its head.
That one is just like the one that's over there. It doesn't fit into campus whatsoever.
I see a lot of sculptures here and there, and I think it's pretty cool that they put it in the...
How does it compare with the other sculptures?
Oh, I think the other sculptures are better. I've been wondering what it is and what it's for, to be honest. That's kind of what it makes me feel.
The university have turned off the lights here at the Armstrong Quadrangle. Not entirely sure why, but that brings a close to our Vox Pox. Overall, most people seem fairly passive about the clasp. Not many even know it's there, even when they're walking past it. As for this weird decapitated sculpture, it still freaks me out, so we'll see what happens to that in the near future. I've been Harris, this is Student Voice. See you guys next time.
encompassed by the staff membership, hence why, sorry, go back to the leaves. So hence why the ex officio is being removed, because it is encompassed by the staff membership that we offer, and the temporary membership is encompassed under associate membership. So it basically gives more flexibility and power of council and trustee board to give out these memberships. I think, just trying to think if there's anything I've missed out. Essentially, this is just clearly defining in our constitution what each membership, the benefits are of each. I think that's all I've got to say.
Any questions for Raf? Okay. You can sit down. We will take 2 fours and 2 against on this. Anyone for the motion? No? Okay. Anyone against the motion? Anyone speak for? Anyone against? Brilliant. Okay, so back to a vote. Devices ready. Please tell us before we reveal the results if you were unable to vote. 2/3 majority required, 67%. Right, so that has been approved by council. Right, next motion, another constitutional motion, paperless elections. Troy, would you like to come up and speak on this? Troy here. Right. No, yeah. We'll put the resolves up and I will read the resolves out to anyone who's unable to read them. So, Troy and George. Okay, yeah, Johnny was elected to speak on this.
Okay. Yeah, could we just move across to the resolves? Yeah, it is what it is. It's obviously there was some stick about paper being used in the elections this year, like a lot of supposed waste. So this is putting a ban on it, and it then gives NUSU the power and the returning officers to enforce the ban, see how we actually put that into practice, and then guidelines for candidates on running paperless campaigns. That'll be so how to run an effective campaign without flyers and whatnot. Please don't ask me any questions. I didn't propose it.
With that in mind, any questions for Johnny? No, you can sit down then.
So is just everyone clear on it? Like I can clarify some. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would the level of funding given to candidates stay the same?
They would stay the same. Yeah.
Okay. Any final questions? No.
So we're all clear. Total ban.
Yep. Right, okay, so again, over to a vote, 67%. Oh yeah, what am I doing? Sorry. End of tallying. Anyone for the motion? Anyone? Go on.
Save the planet, save the environment. In a world of digital technology, I don't know anyone.
Although I agree with the reasoning behind this motion, I think instead we could be lobbying for a reduction in the number of flyers that are wasted, or going towards recycled paper through Splosh, something like that, although I appreciate the for also contributing to the environment. I think that going wholly digital would affect mature students as well, because would you just target 19 to like 22-year-olds on Facebook? I think not everyone has social media. It's a good way to get policies across rather than being a popularity contest. And also, surely sustainability should be part of the campaign, and a candidate should be allowed to be judged on how many resources and how they use their resources as a reflection of what they would do in their role.
For the motion, yep, go on to.
I'm actually feeling a bit stuck into this now. So, I just would like to say that, firstly, I don't think that necessarily it would affect mature students because of targeted advertising. I think that's a bit ridiculous to say because I think that actually, if you're clever, you would target probably some of the most engaged students that we could have here, which are potentially mature students. I don't know, you don't know. And also, some people might think older students do. Is it not tokenistic, like the plastic straw issue? Like, I'm sorry, yeah, okay, we're getting rid of plastic straws, but we still don't recycle, we still don't do half this stuff. So I'm sorry, that's just not actually doing anything to help the environment, and that's what we're here to do. And lastly, I don't think it's all social media. You can access everyone's kind of campaigns through the NUSU website, and yeah, so I think that's a silly argument as well.
Okay, against the motion. Yep, right at the back there. Yeah.
So as any other kind of political campaigners in the room will know, and there's a few of you dotted around, engagement is the #1 issue in any election campaign, regardless of if that's within a university or you're electing an MP. People who aren't engaged are not going to be the kind of people who would go into your sites, regardless of if you target on Facebook, the NUSU website. Like, realistically, I know we all want to be quite sort of idealistic, and we all go to the NUSU website, but the vast majority of students don't unless there's something that needs done, which is really annoying, but it's something that is work on. And I would also be kind of concerned about the accessibility of campaigns if we only allow them to be run online. Obviously, people do have access to computers and Wi-Fi on campus, but there's accessibility issues in terms of like people not having the experience or opportunity to learn how to target on Facebook or GDPR compliance and things like that. Yeah, I would completely agree with Jack in that we should lobby for a reduction, but we shouldn't put these limits on things which, as much as people on UFest might be like, oh, like I'm going to put the candidate that will save the planet, they are a tiny minority of students who actually post on UFest and actually complain about the SU on UFest. Like, vast majority of people don't care, and it's the only way that they'll see any candidates and get involved.
Can I just make a point of information? That's sorry. It's not a completely thing to make it. It's not a motion to put it completely online. Just move paper-based promotional materials, so you can still make a banner out of a bed sheet and hang it somewhere in the students' union. You can still go into lectures and try and get engagement through that.
Yeah, all the digital screens would still be allowed.
There's still a lot of other ways you can do it without having to use paper. You could get a cardboard box and put your name on it, stamp it on the wall.
Yeah, okay,
just paper.
Community not opinion, just strictly standing orders or as things are, please. Okay. Sorry, are running out of time. So, over to a vote. Yeah. Afraid it's sort of too late as well. Okay. So, over to a vote. Please make sure you're ready to vote. 67% required. Okay, issue voting it. So it's still open. Voting is still open if you haven't voted yet. Has everyone voted? Yep. Okay, good. Okay, that motion has not passed. Right, okay. At this point, there's a motion proposed by myself, another constitutional motion, which means I can't chair due to conflict of interest. I'm going to ask the incoming chair. Sorry, Johnny. Stephen Dawes. Why is it chairing? Please treat him as you would myself, with respect, and listen to what he has to say. Yeah, thank you. read out the name and then ask them to come up.
So, motion, 303 motion on reforming the order paper and the substantive stage of the standing orders. I'd like to call Adam to present the motion.
We're standing up here. Anyway, this motion's sort of very straightforward. It's done just in reflection of my time as chair and things what I think could be done to make council run smoother. They're very simple, is in two parts. One, I want to make it so the chair has the power to more discretion who they select to speak, because at the moment the wording is who they happen to catch first, who happens to catch their eye first, which means people who are sitting in certain parts of the room, all those are at an advantage. Those hiding in the back and I can hardly see. Sometimes I just see the top of a hand, even if I know who it is. It's much harder to allow them to speak, which I think is unfair, because it gives certain people much more advantage at council. So this would change it so the chair can decide, and if they're required to prioritise those who haven't spoken before. The second part is when we have the reports and then we have the question and mandates. I'd rather the question and mandates on the orders before that, so that you have more information and can scrutinise your officers then you vote whether you want to approve their reports. It's, yeah, that simple. Thank you very much.
Right, so we'll have one on either side of this motion. Oh, sorry, questions.
Oh, yeah,
See. Still learning, still learning.
Yeah, questions. You choose.
Harris.
Hi, okay, I kind of do agree and get your logic with putting, sorry, go back a slide. Okay, sorry, thank you. I get the logic with release 5, putting the questions for the officer reports means that people, when they vote on officer reports, have more information. But I also think that in the same, perhaps even more token, having it the way it is now, gives people opportunity to ask questions on the reports, having already heard it. I mean, you could say that people read reports when it gets sent out, but a lot of people actually don't do that. And most times we've had questions have almost entirely always been prompted by reports. So I just want to hear more about why you think it would be better the other way around. Because I see both ways, but for me, the way it is now seems to work better in terms of information and clarity.
Yeah, my logic behind the motion was just that if you have questions about the report, you've just approved it, so you don't really have time to scrutinise it. So I'd like question mandates to come later, so you have time to ask questions. And it may be something you haven't thought of already, so it may trigger that. Any other questions?
Guess not. So we'll have one either side of this motion, fairly contentious. Anybody for the motion like to speak? John.
Yeah, I think it's just a really good idea in general. You get with it, you get obviously you get a question, you get to find out more detail about the report before you actually vote on it. I think Adam's wording around like someone who's yet to speak is much better, because you know can sometimes give advantage to take themselves at the front. Most likely catch his eye, so he's doing some good work here.
Anybody to speak against the motion?
I don't think it matters what you pass because you don't follow your own rules, so.
Whoa. Sorry.
Right. This is a constitutional motion, so it will be a 2/3 majority to pass, 67%. I think we'll go to the voting now. So please have your devices ready. What did Sophie say? It doesn't matter what we do, we should get them anyway. Do we? I suppose we do, don't we? Oh. So the motion passes. I think that invite you back to take the chair.
Thank you, Chair. I'm back. Right. So, motion 304, another constitutional motion on vacant PTO positional elections. Johnny, if you'd like to come up and speak on that.
Okay, so came back. This has been here before, and it fell because of concerns around not having a cross-campus election. So now basically the rules are, which is sort of what we're following tonight with the community and students officer election. It would just simplify the process so students could just come forward at council if they want to run for a vacant PTO position. It just streamlines the process of getting PTOs in as quick as we can if there are vacant ones following March. Actually, there weren't this year, but we only have an election because we just created a new one. So it would really just be improving what we have in terms of getting PTOs in place so they can get straight off to work basically from October time if there are any vacant positions. And it will be cross-campus, so anyone can come forward at council or put their name forward in advance if they can't make it at council.
Any questions for Johnny? No? May sit down. Right. Due to time, the fact that this motion has already come to council, we're going to have 1 for and 1 against. So, those for. Yep, Charlotte.
Especially with the community student officer elections today, my friend Charlotte is running and she nearly dropped out because of the pressure of running a whole campaign, having to plan posters and a manifesto, and especially if it's in around May, it's dissertation season, it's exam season. It's a lot of pressure upon people even if you are passionate about a role. I think this would just simplify it. It would also simplify the workload for the NUSU staff who are already busy around this time of year anyway. It just makes sense. And they've changed it enough that I think it does make sense and would be good.
Okay. Against the motion? Final chance. Okay. Right, over to a vote. 2/3 majority required, 67%. And that motion has passed. Right. Next motion. So, motion, funding for on campaigns for NUSU elections. Yeah, if you could come up, Grace. 2 minutes.
Hi. Yeah, I didn't really know what was going to happen tonight at council, and I'm thankful. But I do agree that there should be more oversight for run campaigns and more guidance because, well, I don't necessarily, yeah, whatever. I could have used more guidance, and I think anyone could use guidance when running a campaign, regardless of whether you're running as a candidate or running to reopen nominations. You're still running a campaign, and it's complicated and intense, and you could use the support and the guidance in terms of that. So that's basically what I want to do. I also want to ensure that the Students' Union equally funds run campaigns as they do candidate campaigns, because you cannot run a democratic election if one of the campaigns being run is not funded and the others are. It would provide more resources. It's political opinion whether or not we like the political opinion. One of my points as well, sorry, I'm still riding a bit of an anxiety high. One of the things that I hope that this motion will do as well is to reduce the number of candidates we get as protest candidates, because the reason people do that is because they feel they don't have confidence in the system, or they feel that their voice isn't being heard, or that for various reasons. But unfortunately, those campaigns, in running as a candidate, you have to produce a manifesto, you have to produce videos, you have to produce all this content about you and your opinions. And when you're doing that from a human perspective, you will quite often hit off base and end up accidentally or unthinkingly offending groups that the Students' Union has to be protected. We've seen this in the past, and I don't think it's likely to stop. People are going to stop being apathetic anytime soon. So I think the best way to do that is to consolidate that apathy into a campaign that has oversight from the Students' Union and that has equal funding, so people feel like they have a voice when they are protesting against the system.
Right. Thank you very much. Questions? Yep, at the back there, Harry.
Just quickly,
Could you introduce yourself?
I'm Harry. Do you, just because I know, so if you don't mind me using the example of the wrong campaign that you're involved in.
I'm trying, yeah, I was trying
okay,
not
that's fine.
to tie it too closely.
So some people might want to run a wrong campaign because they think the only candidate is a bit rubbish.
Yeah.
So they would do that. But the candidate lists are, of course, rightly kept quiet, and we don't find out until everyone's submitted. So what would be your intention of, like, you couldn't submit beforehand a wrong campaign because you have no idea the candidates that would run. So, like, just practically, that seems like, I'm not against, I don't really know what I think about this.
That in the case of producing protest candidates, people know that they're going to run as a protest candidate before it closes. So people who have the intention of doing that set out, and they don't seem to have a problem at the moment submitting on time in that respect as candidates. So I don't think they would have problems submitting as a run campaign. In terms of in response to a candidate, perhaps that's something that would be at the discretion of the student union. I've just put that they should be, so we allow one run campaign for each officer. My sort of idea was that the returning officer for the election would help coordinate, because there was also the issue raised at Officers Forum of what if more than one person wants to run a run campaign in an election. But the sort of the idea that I was going with and what we've discussed as being the policy would be that people who came forward wanting to run a campaign would be consolidated together. So they'd be like, oh, this person already approached about this, work with them, that kind of thing going on. Maybe we can, I honestly hadn't thought about that. But perhaps we can have a grace period of maybe, I don't know, 3 to 5 days after all of the announcements are put out for the candidate lists to allow students to respond in that way. I haven't included that in the motion, but I think that would be reasonable to be at the discretion of the returning officer. Because, for example, when I decided I wanted to run a run campaign, I emailed various people at the Students' Union to ask if A, I was allowed to as an elected officer, and B, how I would go about that. And I sort of was like, yes, you can do it. No, we don't have any guidance. So that's sort of the problem that I'm trying to solve in that sense.
Right, any other questions? Yeah.
When you say guidance, do you mean just like, because when people were running this year, like we had that academy thingy, I don't remember what it was called, that like helps you like teach about the campaign and stuff. So couldn't anyone who just wants to do a long campaign go to that?
That would be separate. Candidates Academy is for the people who've put themselves forward to be an officer. If this was a basketball, it would have to be separate training for the campaign. Just it's a totally different area. It's actually based for those elections, so it's very specific.
Yeah, so it probably would be separate, but I don't envisage it being super difficult to provide guidance. I mean, if this passes, I'd be very very open to working with the returning officer or anyone who wants to do it about forming that guidance. It's just basically like to provide a little bit more structure and a little bit more so you know what you're doing, because it's really confusing and difficult to run a campaign, and especially a run campaign.
No. Final question at the back.
Just to say, for anyone else who's not running elections, what kind of oversight does the SU currently provide for like candidate campaigns?
For candidate campaigns, there's training on promotion, and do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, we do various kind of drop-in sessions, so how to write a manifesto, how to make an effective video campaign, and then we do a Saturday or a Wednesday session where it's discussed kind of what the rules are, how you do it. Like Lindsay, who's the Director of Membership and HR, she runs that, and then various SABs pop in to give their experiences, and we do that. But we do a couple of drop-in sessions, but that's the main thing that we do in terms of training.
So it's kind of support as opposed to like oversight in terms of saying you're not allowed to publish that, you're not allowed to...
Yeah, like support and guidance. So you get that information from the SABs about, well, maybe not the SABs, but you get that sort of, I've done it before, here are the stumbling blocks that you might come across. Just a baseline of what it would look like, so you're not starting from zero, essentially.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, we had to move. Okay, if it's a point of information, that's fine.
Can I check, Ron
a wrong campaign would not class as a candidate, so wrong campaigns would not be regulated. Does anybody know?
Yeah, like could you slate as a wrong campaign?
So obviously campaigns have rules. You can't put leaflets in computer clusters, whereas wrong campaigns don't actually follow those rules. They just follow the student disciplinary and NUSU guidelines. So technically, I'm just wondering, would wrong campaigns still not technically under this proposal be regulated under the elections regulations?
Doesn't say anything about that in the results, so I think phrase.
I assumed that it would. I didn't write that in my note. I
look-
think that it would be more under that because it becomes a person or a group of people, well, a person with the same way that you would have like, I don't know what they call it, deputies, people who help you promote your campaign. It would become a person running it, even though you're not promoting a person. It's like a bit more centralised.
What it looks like from the motion is someone could come forward to run the wrong campaign and still be run on the elections. It's just that person who's done that would have access to the funds for a wrong campaign, but equally someone else could do it where it was an unregulated one. We don't have the power to stop that.
Okay, so we will do two on each side. Those for the motion. Yep, Jamie.
Yeah, I'm not going to speak for very long this time, but I just think it adds a bit more competition and competitiveness and sort of the same way. It adds more competitiveness and choice for voters. So I think it's fair that if you aren't happy with the only candidate you can vote for, there should actually be a decently strong campaign so you do have that choice. I think it's pretty straightforward in that sense. Just opens up and makes it a bit more democratic and it's intuitive and makes sense.
Okay, against the motion. Yep. Chris. No, you, Chris. It's all yours.
The current benefit of running a wrong campaign at the moment, without being affiliated to the university, is that you have more freedom to say and do as you please. Whereas candidates who are affiliated to the university have to go through many checks and balances. You can't say things about the candidates. You have to be promoting yourself and not negging other people. So my only point against would be how can we ensure that, how can you effectively run a wrong campaign, which is in essence negging someone? How would you run that without the proper checks and balances to make sure it doesn't become a smear campaign? Because it doesn't seem as though there's anything. It doesn't seem as though there's sorry, northern gang thing. It's just like being negative against people.
Can I have a point of information? Because I actually asked this when I ran. You are allowed to run negative campaigns against other people.
We were told
it has to be about their policies.
But it has to be, it has to be about
exactly.
policies.
That's what I mean.
But you can be negative in your policies.
But you could choose to run a wrong campaign. You could choose to run a wrong campaign based on someone's beliefs or points of view. I know. So surely you can understand that could become an issue, because then if that becomes funded, that becomes student policy. So that would be my only issue with that. Also, would it be limited to £25, or should it be £50? Because there'd be therefore two candidates running, and you'd no longer be unopposed. That would be my only point out.
I've said, important information, I've said equal funding. The 25 is just the point of information at the beginning in the facts, as it were, of that's how much an uncontested candidate would be given.
Yeah, but it would become contested if another person runs.
So
they get. Yeah, but it's to clarify that if they were then uncontested because there was a run, they would then both get 50, not 25.
Yeah, that was
okay.
This is more of an information clarity question. So would that mean if it's like a sabbatical officer, we'd be giving the wrong campaign 100 quid?
Yeah.
Yeah, in theory.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, right. Okay, so last for the motion. Yeah, go for it. Still listening.
Yeah, my main thing is that I think that regulation would be helpful. I find it quite strange that there's been an argument against, from that point of view of doing whatever you want being a good thing. Perhaps there should be more regulation, and I don't think it's critical of me to say that, because while I stand by my priority or my beliefs, I wouldn't have taken certain actions if I had
have the ability to do a wrong campaign at the moment that isn't equally funded is not very democratic. And so I think that would be really, honestly, the best way to go about it.
Final against. Yeah.
Yeah, Pablo. So I agree with part of the motion. I think that, for example, guidance it would be really important for wrong campaigns. At the end of the day, a person that is running a wrong campaign is because they think that the students that should be aware of some policies of the other person. I don't know, whatever may the reason. But I think that guidance to run that campaign would be good. And even support, like in the case of the Courier, wrong campaigns are not given like public space to express their opinions. That also may be useful for students. So I think that part is good. But the only problem I have with this campaign is with the funding. Like the student union has limited resources that we use to support the students, to run the campaigns that have a positive impact on students. So therefore, I don't think this is it is good to fund that. That said, if this doesn't pass, but next year it comes back without the funding, I will fully support it.
Okay, thank you. Is there a point of information?
It's not democratic to fund some campaigns and not others.
Yeah, Grace, that's not a point of information.
I've got
No. Okay, as long as it's a point of information.
Yeah, it's just a point of information.
Right, okay.
Just information, just on the finances. So if one wrong campaign ran for each officer position, it would cost £1,200.
Okay. Right, with all that in mind, we're going to go to a vote. Device is ready, constitutes motion, 67%. Off we go. That motion has not passed. Okay, as my powers of chair, I realise that we're running out of time and I don't feel that we can, within the allotted time, do everything that we need to do. So I propose that we extend the guillotine by roughly 50 minutes, rounding us up to 35 past. We started at 20 past, and yeah, it's 120 minutes currently after we start. So 35 past is what I'd like to extend it to, if everyone's happy with that. This goes through green cards. Yeah. Yeah, so next quarter now, just so we can do everything, because I'm aware of the hustings as well. So, green cards at the ready. All those for? All those against? Any abstentions? Great, thank you. Yeah, if you could still stay with me, still got more to get through. Yeah. Right, so we now have, yeah, it's just that. So we have the next motion, merging of Hall and Community Exec. Raf, if you'd like to speak on this.
Thank you. So I chair the currently separate Hall and Community Executive Committees. They are very useful, they're very beneficial. Hall Exec, bit of background, constitutes a lot of first years usually, based in halls of residence all across the university campus, and Community Exec, usually second and third years, based in places like the West Wing, but Jesmond, Heaton, etc. Very useful stuff. However, I have found this year that often in meetings, the same sort of things are covered because they are very similar remits. And one of the key things is that this year there's been quite a lot of issues I think the Students' Union has had with the City Council, particularly on student safety, with regards to assault, bad car, road safety, housing and things like this. And I think it's really important that actually we have as strong a voice as possible as students, and by merging Hall and Community Exec, we'd have a bigger meeting, we'd be able to invite more people from the City Council and basically get our voice heard a lot more on a grander scale by bringing them together. Also, you'd have the benefits of having first years directly in meetings with second and third years. They might be able to then take the positions the year after, but definitely learn from their expertise of living in the areas outside of halls. So in summary, I'd like to merge the two. I think it would be incredibly effective, a lot more powerful for lobbying for change in this city, because there are a lot of things coming up which will affect students.
Okay. Any questions for Raf? No? Final chance. Okay, sit down. Right. We will take one on either side of this. So those for the motion, who would like to speak on it? Yeah, right at the back there.
Yeah, fully support everything Raf just said, and I think it's also worth noting that as well as sort of recruit people for the community exec, it would be really helpful in kind of promoting that group to first years. Once they know that they've got a halls rep, and then that's directly linked to their community reps, there's the potential for more engagement in second and third years.
Okay. Anyone like to speak against the motion? Final chance. Okay, right. Over to a vote then. 2/3 yep, still 2/3 majority required. Motion has passed. Okay, so moving on, we're now on to ordinary motions, which means it's a simple majority, 51% or more is needed. So the first one is to increase undergraduate involvement in research. James, if you'd like to come up.
Hi everybody, my name's James. I'm not going to take too long tonight. I'm basically going to have two aspects. Firstly, I'm going to set out why research is important for students to get involved with. And then secondly, I'm just going to basically try and summarise what my motion resolves. So essentially, undergraduates can get involved in research, especially over summer research schemes. The university provides funding for this via a scholarship, but it's probably not as well known about as it could be. And so my motion is basically to mandate the education officer this year and next year to basically increase awareness for this. This is something they already do, but it would just allow them to say that NUSU supports them and sort of agrees with what they want to say. The current system, you basically have to email each researcher to try and get involved, and you know, we don't live in the 1600s. There should be some kind of availability of it on the internet so that everyone should sort of get involved if they wanted to, especially those who aren't sort of easy and confident at emails. And so basically this motion is just to try and improve the way students get involved in research, because I think it benefits them, and you know, it's not the hardest step to take. Have you got any questions?
Any questions, yeah. Yep.
Right.
Are you also appealing for extra funding for those, or just for more applications?
You know, I mean, I guess that's something that the education officer could also do. I'm not particularly appealing for it, but I mean, more funding for students to get involved in research is literally never a bad idea from our sort of perspective. And then in addition to that, even if you do research for free, not only does it increase your sort of soft skills, but it also is beneficial for you. So it's just a good thing all around.
Any other questions? No, let me sit down. Right. We'll have one either side of this as well. So who would like to speak for the motion? Yep, go on, Johnny.
Yeah, it's all positive all around. It's a good stance for NUSU to have on it. The university are very on board with anything that can increase research engagement, so yeah, vote for it.
Okay. Against the motion? Brilliant. Okay, so that means we can now go over to a vote. Simple majority required. Off we go. That has gone through unanimously. Right. So, that is the end of the motions. So, we will now be going on to the hustings for the community student officer. Would anyone like to explain what this is?
I mean, I'll also more impartial.
Yeah.
But community students officer is just there to it's the new liberation officer position. It represents students at community and university, and then it's basically there to support them with the community student experience. It could be any transport issues, or any other issues they see fit around campus, and it was approved at March Council. I'm sure the candidates can say more.
Yeah. How this works is the candidates come up, say a little bit why they should have it. Voting with this will not open till 7:30. The meeting may or may not be over by then, but it will not change based on what happens at the meeting. It will definitely be 7:30. So please be aware of that and please be sure to vote. Is it come to the front and vote if you want to run for this role?
That hasn't, well, that doesn't take effect yet, because it's only just passed at this council. We're just going through the normal procedures of the candidates who've already been named forward on the online elections.
Okay, yeah, of course.
So we've got 4 candidates in the position.
So who's first? Sorry, I haven't got a list in front of me. Okay, well, if you'd like to, if you would like to come up then and speak.
Okay, so I'm Sean. Hi. I created this role back in March, so it's probably like no surprise that I'm gonna run for it. So yeah, I've been a dedicated campaigner for some of the issues that were mentioned by Johnny there, transport and stuff like that. And they really affect commuting students who come to the university and travel to campus. I believe that because of my already like proven interest in this, that I'm like the most qualified candidate for the role. My manifesto is very simple. I'm sure you've seen all the flyers on the floor and stuff. But basically just no more physical handling requirements, save the world, environment, whatever. And this also affects people with like accessibility issues, so it just gives people more time with their assignments and things. Bigger transport discount for students because prices aren't fair and we don't have a lot of money. And a home students network, so local students can connect with each other prior to Freshers Week. It'll just make the week a bit more inclusive for them. And 24-hour storage facilities for those who commute to campus so they can get more involved with society activities. So yeah, I'm really passionate about this, and yeah, hope you vote for me. That's it.
Okay. Okay. So. Okay. Does anyone have any questions for what you've just heard there, Sean? No. Brilliant. Oh.
I guess it's more of a sort of really general one. In terms of like commuting students, I'm going to have to commute next year. Strictly speaking, I don't commute from like a home, I commute from business to nowhere else. Will we be included in the sort of like transport-based reasons?
I would say that obviously a lot of these issues can be extended to students who actually live in Jesmond and places like that. It's just more specifically that they affect certain students a little bit more than others because you have to pay more and stuff. So yeah, it'll just be better for everyone really, but specifically focusing on those students.
Right. Kieran isn't here, but he's on the ballot, so.
Put Kieran's manifesto up.
Yeah, we'll put that up now for you to have a little read through. But there hasn't been anything sent through to read. I will give you time to read that. Say again? Sound that then. Yeah. Okay. Okay. That is Kieran's manifesto, but there are 2 other candidates on the ballot you need to be aware of. They have not submitted a manifesto and not here to speak, but their names are Sam Blackburn and Jordan Cameron. Jordan Carroll, sorry. Yes, Jordan Carroll. Sorry, my mistake, long day. But yes, they are on the ballot, so you are able to vote for them if you so wish. Right. Yeah, please remember that doesn't open to 7:30. Okay, so nearly done. Final thing is just quick student notices. Yep.
Please can everyone throw the rubbish away at the end?
Well, please. That's my note.
Yeah.
Good note.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take 2 more notices, Gundan, Johnny. After Johnny, of course.
I just wanted to, it's not really noticed. I think we should all say a big thank you to Adam for chairing council over the year. I think it's not an easy job and he's done a really great job in the position, so a round of applause for him.
Yep, other student. Yep, Charlotte, if you go.
It's just a similar one. I think we should also thank the NUSU staff who have been here every Thursday, every month as well, like Angela Kay, George and everyone at NUTV as well for helping council run, because I think they also deserve some applause.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Right. Yep. Last notice before we go over to the raffle. Yeah, right at the back. You had your hand up.
So, as was said earlier, we came, was it 6th in the books table? But,
Ninth, but
ninth,
never
sorry,
mind.
They've actually recently opened up a subdivision for esports, which I don't know if a lot of you know about that, but we're actually representatives of the Gaming Society, and we've been submitting ourselves. We actually came 4th out of 81 universities in the country.
Hands up to you.
We're hoping to...
They have a sports club for their esports division, and they paid £50 for their members to join, and we paid £5 for ours. We came fourth.
Yeah, have a done.
We've actually kept the time somehow.
Yeah, true.
Okay. Lastly, over to the raffle. We've got these 2 lovely Interendal Squared vouchers for someone here to win. You should have been given a raffle ticket at the beginning, so please have that ready. Bear with me. You haven't got one? Okay. Please make sure you've got a raffle ticket.
I actually do.
So, the first winner is 849. Come to the front if that is you. And the second one is 847. Okay, well, thank you everyone. Thank you for coming to council. Thank you for being part of our democracy. Have a good night.
See you next year.
It's over.
Jamie, no surprise recognition.